right. Welcome, everyone, to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Brodhead. We started this podcast as a way to create a central resource of the best financial planner practice growing tips shared by the most outstanding advisors in the industry, of which our guest today is definitely one. These outstanding financial planners agree to be on the show and provide a ton of value for free, all in the hopes that our audience might learn from their words. My father was a financial advisor, and financial advisors are the main clients we serve, so our marketing agency's mission is to help every advisor grow their business in an effort to help the world become more financially secure. Today, we have the rare pleasure of talking with an incredible financial planner, Nev Kraguljevic. Nev, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little about you?
Yes. Hello, Chris. Thank you for having me here. Excited to be here. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from Serbia, which I think the last name itself likely gives it away at least a little bit. And I came to US shortly after turning 18 and just never really left. So that's my story of how I landed in this country. And I am still fairly new to the world of financial planning. My past history I come from higher ed. And so that's why I spent 25-year career. And I'm sure you can guess where I'm being asked to help a lot when it comes to financial planning. And it is on the college planning, on the student loans, so anything education sector. I don't understand all of the education sector stuff, but I am pretty familiar with the higher ed and kind of how it works. But I have other passions, obviously, all of them that come in. And so just really excited to be part of the show, part of the industry, and uncover what we can uncover.
Yeah, awesome. Just a quick sidebar. Are you a big Novak Djokovic fan?
So family will murder me if I say no, but I don't really watch tennis. So yes, yeah. My entire family is very much
Yeah.
pro Novak. So
Cool. My family's big sport is tennis, so I've followed him for a while, and I love him. I think he's amazing, and we have the same birthday, so that makes me like him just a little bit more.
yeah, it makes you feel like you're almost related in a sense.
Yeah. I'm like, of course he's great at tennis. His birthday's May 22nd. That's the greatest birthday ever.
Okay.
Anyways, I digress. Awesome. So I normally like to start at the beginning. You know, how did you find yourself in this wild industry?
And it is a wild industry, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So as I shared, I came to US mostly to study and to A, get a degree, but B, also learn English. And my goal, my dream was to become a Wall Street trader of all things. So the things that kids dream about, they think about all kinds of things. I wanted to be a Wall Street trader. And but being from Serbia, not speaking English, not going to a high name brand school, let's just say Wall Street never came calling. And while I was in undergrad, I worked in higher ed, and the boss at the time said, you have a knack for this. Have you thought about higher ed as your career? And so that's kind of how the career in higher education was actually born. Somebody suggested it, and I said, I do enjoy it. I do enjoy working with folks. And so why not? But my nagging for investing, for finance, for entrepreneurship never left. And so on the sides, I started investing, or I thought I was investing. I didn't really know what I was doing. And then 2008 market crash came. I lost everything.
Oh no.
And Uh, Clearly, I was not working with the financial planner. I did not know what I was doing. Right. So I was speculating, I think is the best way to put it.
Mhm.
And when the tax bill came due, I also got a bill saying I owed on taxes. Not only did I lose everything, but then I owed on taxes. And
Oh, good.
that was a wake up call to
Mhm.
realize that clearly I don't know what I'm doing. Learn what I'm doing and start really digging into this personal finance and investing and taxes and the slew of things that affect us on a daily basis. And so my real education began years after my formal education. And I decided to not do anything with Wall Street. I decided I was going to go into real estate.
Mm.
So that's actually where I started investing in shortly after the market crash. Looking back now, probably the best time that I could have done that. Uh, the only thing that I remembered is somebody saying, when there's blood on the streets, that's when you go in. So I said, it looked pretty bloody to me. Let's go and let's give this a shot. And so I started learning a whole lot. And obviously, when you get into real estate, you have to figure out the liquidity and cash flow and taxes. And so years and years and years and years later, um, I kept doing that. And somewhere along the line, uh, being in higher ed, folks started to invite me to do seminars on financial literacy. And I started that first for the employees, eventually started doing that for students, and became really passionate about teaching folks what I was learning and what I had learned along the way. And then forward some years into the future, I had realized that I was able to retire, uh, mostly because of the investment components. And so I wanted to quit my job. I just couldn't really picture what I would do if I was to retire. So I would try to take these like week or 2 week long vacations. And after 3 days, I would get bored because there's only so much relaxing one can do. I needed something else. And so I couldn't do that. I couldn't retire. So I stayed in the job uh, for extra time and started doing the basically soul searching, if you would, of what did I want to do. And I wanted something to be flexible. I wanted to be able to travel and work anywhere from anywhere I wanted to, as long as there was a internet and computer access. So that eliminated a lot of things that one could do. Real estate being one of the key components. I'm like, this just doesn't sound like something I could keep on doing. Um, and I stumbled on the same answer over and over and over again. That one piece that fulfilled me is when I was working with folks, either in groups or one-on-one, helping them navigate their personal finance. And lo and behold, that search started to go down the financial planning path. I learned about the CFP. I enrolled in a program, I think, like a day after reading about it. I mean, I literally spent an entire day reading all I could, and I said, "That's it. That's the one." And then the rest is history again, if you would. So that's how I came where I am right now.
Mhm. Awesome, awesome. And when was that? How many years ago did you
This was
pivot?
shortly after COVID. So COVID
Okay.
was the pivotal moment to say, "I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
be freer," if you would.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been that many years, right? So
Okay, got it, got
it
it.
was
Nice, nice.
pretty fresh.
Yeah, it's interesting, you bring up COVID because I think, obviously it was a horrific time and very traumatic and awful on nearly every level for everyone. But it did force us to reflect and
Yeah.
possibly change course in a way that we wouldn't otherwise have had the opportunity. So there were some blessings there as well. It also sped up the adoption of the more remote work style, which I am a huge proponent of for a multitude of reasons. Awesome. So did you step away from your work in education to start this business, or how did you sort of start moving in the financial planning direction?
Um, I decided to take the course and study while I was still working. So that was the first piece. I said, you know what? Let me see if I can still, if I can still learn, if I can still do this, and what it would look like. And who knows, maybe I'll go through the course and hate it. And so I didn't want to corner myself. Not that I mean, I would have been fine, but I sort of have this exit strategy first lesson that maybe somewhere along the line I picked up. And I wanted to make sure that I really enjoyed it. And of course, I loved every single thing about it that kind of came through, as boring and dry as sometimes some of those formula and memorizations had to happen. Um, and then just decided this is it. I quit, um, and left, and I joined a residency program for financial planners to kind of give me a shift in. And so I went from working probably about 80, 90 hours a week to maybe 40. And I felt like I was bored out of my mind, in all honesty, because right, like you go from that amount of work, um, and it truly felt like a retirement. And kind of I remember reflecting at the time and saying, like, I am so glad that I waited until I had this, because even at 40 hours a week, like that's normal working week for most adults. Um, and yet to me, it felt like I wasn't doing much of anything, and uh, had all this free time. And so I remember reflecting, saying, I'm so glad that I waited to do this. Because imagine going to zero, from like working to zero. And that has, interestingly enough, not that you asked, but kind of triggered a thought of, that's the piece that kind of brings it in, that is always really interesting, and I think has the most impact when I work with clients who are thinking about retirement. They all have this like a grandiose, this is what the retirement is going to be. And so, um, not that I have had a true retirement in sense, but just saying, like, think through of what that would actually really look like and really consider, because it's a drastic shift. At least it
Mm-hmm.
was for me. Um,
Yeah. Wow. So you were working that much in the education system?
so I worked in education system, but then I also had my
Uh,
own
Oh, you just
businesses,
had
right?
two
So
full-time jobs.
yeah, I just had multiple full-time jobs. Yeah. So yeah, higher ed
Yeah.
itself was probably about 60 hours.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. So no shortage of work ethic on you, Nev.
Something, no shortage of something. Yeah, and just going. I mean, I look back and go, this was insane. Like that's not
Mm-hmm.
normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal. It's not healthy.
Well, I mean, you're a passionate guy, and you were, working towards something you were excited about, and now you've, or right after COVID, you felt comfortable enough to, pull the trigger. Can you talk to me about, um, you know, did you start your own? practice did you join a firm? Like, how did you like get started in the financial planning space?
So I started with going in, and again, right, coming as an outsider, true outsider. Um, I started to look for jobs, and what I had found very easily are sales jobs. Again, nothing against that. It's fine. Industry needs it. Every industry needs it. It just wasn't for me. Um, and so I had joined actually a residency program, a sort of like a beta testing residency program with the firm that I joined in. And the idea was to gain exposure and understanding and get some hours under my belt and connection. So there was a small group of us that joined, basically all career changers, different careers, but all career changers kind of coming in. And that was a non-paid gig of come and learn. And then on the side, because of course I have to have stuff on the side, right? Is when I have decided that I actually wanted to open my own firm. So, and the reasons behind it is just really wanting that freedom of who I serve, how, where I work from, how I work, who I work with. I wanted a full control over that. So it was sort of like a combination of the two things. The firm that I did residency with had offered me a job, and I agreed to stay very much part time. And so still working with them very much part time. And then so I don't know which one is on the side. Is my own firm on the side, or is that position on the side? But on the side, doing the planning for the firm, and then also opening and running my own.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. Yes, one is never enough for Nev.
No, no, no. I have quickly learned that I just cannot have one. I need to have multiple things going. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we talk to a lot of passionate entrepreneurs with similar predispositions. So how are you? How did you get traction? How are you getting traction? How are you finding clients? How are you getting on folks you want to work with's radar?
um, great question. So for me, I have really been focusing on delivering value first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, um, whether it's the imposter syndrome, which is a real thing, might not be
Oh
medically
yeah.
proven, but I believe that it's a real thing. It exists. I wanted to serve the clients first and foremost, without requesting a dime other than just their commitment and their time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really how I got in, and just saying, I will build you a plan. I will do it as if you're paying me tens of thousands of dollars, all for free, um, because I just want to serve, and truly just wanting to serve. I also feel like I'm coming from a very blessed uh, position that I can do that. Not everybody can. And so that's actually how it started. And the interesting piece that would transpire, and I started thinking through of like, okay, I would build them a plan, um, and then come to the end of the plan, I would say, well, here's your financial plan. Here's everything. And so if you want to work with me, like here are the next steps, right? And so I was ready to go into the pitch mode. However, somewhere along the line, the clients are the ones that actually would come in and say, like what you're doing for us and what you're doing with us, like we have paid advisors that don't do what you do, or to the level that you. So we want to make sure that we stay with you. So is there like, where's the payment portal? Like, how do we do this? And so fortunately or unfortunately, uh, I haven't had to make a pitch yet. They are the ones who are actually asking, which is kind of odd, maybe not so odd, but it has been a very interesting piece that has transpired for me of them saying, like, we'll pay whatever. Like, we don't even care what the price is at this point. We just want to make sure that we continue to work with you. And oh, by the way, you have done this for us. And so we want to bring in our business clients and family members and people that we know to serve them. So can we do that? And so it turned into a very good way of saying, go with the service first, and then ask for payment later, except I didn't have to ask for payment later. They offered it themselves. So
Nice. That's just jumped right in the boat.
so yes, that's kind of a little bit what it feels like, and it feels sort of silly, in a sense, but I guess if you follow some of the other um, business models, and they will say of go with the value first. Um, so so I gave it. I decided to give that a shot as a strategy, as opposed to saying, here's all the things that I could potentially do only if you would pay me. I just said, let me just do things for you, and if you love it, great, and if you don't, it didn't cost you anything other than a little bit of your time and effort.
Got it. Got it. Awesome. And then, are you on the traditional, 1%? Are you hourly charging kind of like a
Combination,
claim
yeah.
fee?
So it's a combination of things, yeah. So there's the traditional method, and I still have philosophical challenges with it, to be honest with you. But for some folks, that's the easiest way for them, right? And so there's benefits to it, right? For some folks, like just parting with their hard-earned dollars in a physical sense, is challenging for some folks, and they would just rather say, you know what, just take it out of the account, and what I don't see does not affect me. It's not like I had it in my pocket anyway. So to them, it's sort of like it just, everybody's happy, so to speak. The other benefit of it is, for me, of, we don't have to, quote unquote, renegotiate of, well, the inflation has gone up, so I have to charge more in order to pay for, right? Like, naturally, as the assets under management grow, the fee naturally grows. On the other side, I do have some challenges with it personally that, you know, I mean, every time you take a payment out of it, it does erode that portfolio, right? And so, but again, for some folks, that just makes sense. For other folks, they very much would rather just pay and not touch the portfolio. And so then we have like the fee component, that basically will just, here's the payments, here's the different methods, and then portfolio ends up being untouched.
Got it. Got it. Great. So as your practice is growing and as you're serving more and more clients, are you noticing any similarities among your clients, any sort of niches, consciously or unconsciously developing?
Yes. A lot of um, the clients are small business owners,
Mm.
um, many of them within medical fields. Um, so which is kind of cool and interesting. Quite a few also come from higher ed, which again, not a surprise. So
Yeah.
that one sort of, makes perfect sense to me. Um, a lot of GLBT Q folks, um, which again, not a surprise to me, given my involvement within the community and for years in education. So that one not a complete surprise, but the business owners, in a sense, is in a sense it's not. But
Hmm.
so
Well, I think the mirror neurons are firing strongly when you're around those types of folks, because you're crazy enough to work 80, 90 hours a week. Like, they see themselves in you. They're like, I want this guy to manage my money. He's just like me.
yeah. I mean, I think I agree. There's a little bit of insanity that takes in because I just and this is not a judgment at all. Like it's just I'm not built. Well, maybe I was built that way at some point, but I've been doing this for well over 20 years now, right? Like juggling multiple things and working these crazy hours. Um, that I don't know, like how much Netflix can one watch in a week to fill all the hours.
Oh yeah,
Um,
gotta take up
so
painting or something.
s- I- something,
Or
yeah. I don't
tennis.
know.
Hey, what about tennis?
What about tennis? Yes, I don't know because then I would have to be at least like as half as good as Djokovic, and that's just
Uh,
not gonna happen. So I
Maybe
can't put the
pickleball.
country to the
Pickleball.
shame, So I gotta stay off from
Yeah,
that.
yeah, fair. Awesome. And these small business owners, specifically within the medical fields, that at least business owners, small business owners, medical field, that those are all very attractive, ideal types of folks for advisors to work with. Is there anything specific that these small business owners within the medical fields are particularly concerned about or looking for insights on, or any insights you have for
Um,
that niche?
yeah, I mean, for vast majority of them, student loans is the really sore
Mm.
subject.
Mhm.
Um, vast majority of folks, um, and when I say vast majority, like predominantly unified voice, they feel a bit jaded about the cost of education that it took
Mm.
them.
Yes,
Um,
I can
you know,
understand that. Yeah.
for what they're doing. And again, they vast majority of them love what they do. So it's not like I chose a wrong career per se, or my school was bad and didn't educate me in medicine. Like it's not nothing like that. It's just more of when they look at the combination, they spent all those years delaying life to get the degree. And so now they're like, right, trying to run their business and work with their patients and trying to start a family. And then there's this just giant mountain of debt that is just attached to them and is following them no
Yeah.
matter what they're trying to do and accomplish. And it just feels incredibly burdensome. And so that's the part where the jaded piece comes in. And interestingly enough, all of them believe that they're those that have children, not everybody does, but those that have children believe that kiddos should get some education. And every single of them has been absolutely not into the medicine, like not this amount of student loans, not because they don't like the medicine, but it's just the cost and the price at which it comes, that they are very unanimously saying, not my child. Like, no, I don't want him to follow in the footsteps. Like maybe business part, yes. Medicine, no, I don't want them to have this.
Yeah. No, the student loan, sizes are just getting crazy. Like I went to school. I started in 2003 and finished with my master's in 10. And it I was in Florida. School was paid for. It was basically free. And then my MBA, if it costs 12 grand, I would be surprised. It was also very reasonable. And now, we have interns, we have like younger people, and they just have undergrads, like 100,000, 150,000, 250,000 for like pretty standard undergrads. And I'm like, what the hell happened?
Yeah,
20
the
years,
cost of
not even.
the cost of education has gone up much faster than any other industry except for maybe long-term care. Maybe those two are sort of competing for who's going to win. And the fortunate or unfortunate piece is, and I just recently had a conversation with a colleague. We were going back and forth and just discussing this. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, there's not very many jobs you can have without at least bachelor's degree. But in order to get the bachelor's degree, like it's tens of thousands of dollars for a year. And schools have gotten really good at their marketing and really good at creating the college time to be a really fun experience. It's a really expensive fun experience, but a really fun experience, especially for undergrad. And where it used to be a norm of, right, you get it done as fast as possible. Now people sort of extended, they're like on a 5-6 year education plan. And each year keep on adding it up. And the interest rates are not helping. And so by the time you're done, just that debt is unsurmountable for many.
Yeah. It's crazy. I feel lucky to have been born when I was born, even though I'm, almost 40, which seems crazy. But I digress.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was much easier back then. And, always listen to people, our generation, that say, oh, well, back when I was like, yeah, but back when you were, like, things have shifted drastically in the last 20 years plus.
Yeah, that's crazy. Awesome. Nev, well, we are coming towards the end of our time. I have one final question for you. It's an open-ended question. You can take it in any direction that you like. And that question is, what are you working towards?
What am I working towards? I think just really for me of wanting to, we just talked about the student loans and education, and I spent 25 years in higher education. And so I was, in a sense, working for the enemy, maybe. Not that education is the enemy, but,
You're a double agent, Nev.
Double agent, yeah. So I have spent 25 years making hundreds of millions of dollars for higher education across the nation. And I would like to spend the second part of my life, second part of my career, working for individuals, and hopefully preserving just as much just as many millions, if I can, that I did making for the higher ed. So it's sort of like before I'm done and over with, I sort of want to, have a clean slate at the end to say, all right, I did it on one end. I'm going to do it on the other end now as well. And maybe put that side of the world in some sort of fiscal balance.
Awesome. Awesome. And where can my audience find out more about everything you're working on?
I am super not active on social media. I have a love-hate relationship with it. Probably if there was one place where I'm like active, would be LinkedIn. That's one place that I do occasionally appear, and I come in spurs, and I'll post regularly for a little while and then do nothing for months, which is not how the social media marketing is supposed to work. I get that, but it's just an honest how it works. The other place really is just like my website, probably like the easiest place to find me.
Okay, awesome. We will link all of those in the show notes. Nev, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and my audience. You're an incredibly passionate and hardworking person, and I'll be excited to keep watching your journey and keep helping folks who are very thankful to have found your help and bring their friends and family to have you help them as well.
Thank you, Chris. This has been a pleasure. So appreciate it, and much success with the podcast.
Thank you so much. And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in, and keep on growing out there, everybody.